Welcome to the Outdoors and Holistic Project podcast edition. I'm Kosia, also known as City Girl in Nature, and today I'm joined with Orchestra.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, kind of, maybe.
Oh, was it a different way?
No, it's Orchestra.
Okay.
Right.
So, can you tell me a bit about you and your journey, I guess, like what do you do and a bit of background about yourself.
What do I do? Like, first and foremost, I consider myself just to be a human, just to be a normal human being that's experiencing life, going through life, enjoying the process, enjoying the journey. But if you were to try put me into a box, I would say I'm a creative.
Nice. Yeah. So what type of creative are you? Do you draw? Do you sing?
I'm a multifaceted creative. So anything to do with creativity, I am there. So in school, I drew a lot. I was always into art. I was into drama as well, into theatre, acting, all that stuff, singing, musicals, even like pottery and painting as well. So yeah, I would consider myself a multi-dimensional creative. But yeah, like I said, to put me into a box, I mainly focus on music. And within music, I would say I started off sort of like writing music, but I never really had the confidence to put my music out. I did put out one single, and when it started doing well, I got a bit scared, and I was like, ooh, let me go behind the scenes now. And then that's how I came into production, because also at that time I was struggling to find sort of like instrumentals that I wanted to sort of like rap or sing on. Mm-hmm. So I started making my own. Then from there, I wanted to get the instrumentals out there, so I had to start finding artists to work with as well. So as a producer, I then segued into sort of like, I would say A&Ring, because I had to find those artists myself, find which type of artist would suit the instrumentals I was making, and also like liaise with them, get them into the studio and make something happen. So sort of like a creative director, as well as a creative producer as well.
Cool.
Or like an executive producer.
It's quite a lot of different roles or hats or things.
Yeah, we're only just getting started as well.
Where are you from as well? Like,
where am I from? That's a very interesting question. Mm-hmm. Where do you think I'm from?
I'm not sure. Looking at you first, I wouldn't say that. I would say you're from African descent or Caribbean descent. Well, we're all African essentially, but
So if you were to take a guess, what would you roll the dice?
I don't know. I would either say I would either say Ghanaian, or I would say like not an island that is Jamaica, so a different island.
Not an island that's Jamaica.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'm actually Nigerian.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, so you were kind of close with the Ghanaian.
Yeah,
you were kind of close. We are neighbours. Yeah. We have a love relationship. I wouldn't say love-hate, We have a love relationship, but those are our neighbours. Yeah.
So you're a Niger boy.
Yeah, I'm a Niger boy. Born and bred from Yaba, yeah.
Oh, cool. So you even grew up then?
Yeah, actually. Yeah, I didn't move to this country until I was about 12.
Oh, wow. So you really grew up there?
Yeah, I wouldn't say really, but I was like halfway through secondary school and then I moved here. Yeah.
So that must have been a way different experience, I guess, coming from Nigeria.
Literally, it was a shock to the system, but obviously, as of all life, you adapt. Mm-hmm. You learn to adapt. You either evolve or become extinct, don't you?
So in terms of like your journey with music, can you tell me like your journey with it so far?
Like my journey with music, you know what, like, how do I even explain it? It would be like I feel like it's one of these things like later down the line, I'd need to like sit down and sort of like draw out a map, because when I think about it, it's almost like the egg and the chicken. Like, which one came first, really? Because I can say I come from a musical family, to begin with. Then I can say, oh, was it the church environment growing up? My mum's very heavily involved in the church. So like from there, a lot of church environments are musical anyways. Or was it school? I played in a band in school as well as, like I said, being involved in musicals and acting. So my musical journey is very complicated, but just to like summarize it, I would say it kicked off consciously for me when I decided to do music, was sort of like towards the end of secondary school. Yeah, I guess the Channel U era. That's where my music journey started off. Yeah, I'm 32 at the moment. So around that time, I was probably like 14, 15, sort of like, yeah, let me do music now.
Wow, that's a throwback, man. Channel U. I got some memories connected to Channel U too. That time was definitely an exciting time with music. And I guess it was showcasing a genre of music that wouldn't typically would have been like mainstream.
Yeah,
Am I right to say that, would you say? Or
you are 100% right to say that. But obviously things change.
so do you feel like, with that being said as well, that period of seeing that music being on Channel U and like, do you think that's what kind of inspired you? Because I guess on this journey, what some of the inspirations or
I've had
things?
so many inspirations from like Michael Jackson to like Wu-Tang, 50 Cent. I've got so many inspirations, but I would say like seeing people around me sort of like make that step to be on TV, to gain recognition, to start like putting themselves in more positions to like achieve their dreams. That's kind of what pushed me over the edge. Like doing music is something I've always felt. Like when I was young, I'd be the one beatboxing in school. I'd be the one making the beats on the table. I'd be like singing stupid songs, remixing songs, changing the lyrics around. Yeah, so I've like music is something that's always I would say being in the blood.
Cool. So where you are as an artist today, was this always the genre or kind of type of music you've always made? I just want to explore like this journey as well.
What do you mean by genre?
In terms of, I guess there's like, they would say there's R&B, there's grime, there's drill, there's jazz, there's soul. And then I guess that nowadays I hear a lot like fusion as
Electronic
well.
music.
So
Yeah, I like that. I like that you said fusion and that you said fusion last, because I consider myself to be a fusion artist. So I don't like sort of like putting myself in a box, or I get bored of being in the same place, whether it's mentally, spiritually, physically, like for too long. Like I'm one of those people that I guess you can say embodies the whole analogy of variety is the spice of life, because I believe from experiencing different things, from doing different things, I gain a broader perspective, really. So that applies to my music.
fair
as well,
enough.
yeah.
And have you always been like a fusion artist?
Yeah,
Always.
always. Like back in the day, even when I was producing, I guess that's kind of how I got the name Orchestra, because I'm like, my music was always, how do I put it, constituted by many different elements to gain, I guess, harmony.
That's cool. That's really
So
cool.
yeah, I've always been fusion. Like back in the day, like when I go back and listen to the beats I was calling grime, they weren't purely grime. The grime could be categorized as a 140 tempo. I was making some beats at 136. I was making some of them at 144, 142. I wasn't just doing grime, and I would like bring elements from like classical music, from jazz, from R&B, and try to just make something fresh and new, basically.
It's interesting that you mentioned like 144 or these different hertz, I guess you're talking about.
Tempos.
Tempos, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess for me, I have a son, right? He's going to be 1.5. And, you know, thinking about the music nowadays that is big within our cultures and our communities, a lot of the music that even me working with young people too, that is predominantly listened to, and like I'm very conscious around that, I guess, because that can sometimes, they say, influence even, and there's proof in fact actually that, you know, sound can impact us holistically as
Of
well.
course.
So I guess giving you that context as well, you know, like over the next 10 years, for instance, and the style of music that is predominantly dominating, I guess, in a lot of spaces and mainstream even, I guess, what's your thoughts around that as well? Like, you know, you said that you've always been like a fusion artist or like been involved in that. Have you ever been around like any other kind of specifically, whether it's grime or
Of
drill
course.
or...
I've worked with drill artists. I've recorded SL. I've recorded Blanco. I've recorded RV. Many different drill artists. Grime artists as well. So yeah, I've been around that genre of music, and I like, in all honesty, I do enjoy elements of it myself. So yeah. I guess, what is your question in regards to...
So my thing is that I have like a young son,
Yeah.
right? So I'm thinking very much about in the next like 10 years, I guess,
Yeah.
as he starts to grow, and I've recognized that the sound generally that I hear young people and in our communities and stuff connecting to particularly is that drill sound or is that grime sound.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking consciously, like my son, I guess,
Yeah.
will this impact him in a certain way, whether it be through hearing this sound or connecting to that
Yeah.
sound and his life decisions or
Yeah.
choices. So
And
like, I
and
guess
your
my question
worries
is,
are 100% valid.
yeah,
Because what you're saying is true. Like, sound, culture, music, it influences the youth, however we want to cut and dice it. Children are always looking for, I would say, role models to sort of like looking for a sense of direction. And I would say what we're seeing now is just, it's a sign of the times. Some people can argue like violent music. I guess that's what a lot of people talk about when they associate, when they talk about drill and grime and stuff like that. Violent music, yes, it's always been around. However, what you're also saying is now it's in the mainstream, right? Just like everything else, change will happen. In 10 years' time, we don't know what the landscape's gonna look like. People might be listening to Taylor Swift with grime or drill elements and still turn it violent, you know?
that's what I'm saying.
Like, yeah,
This is what I'm saying.
if anyone's ever listened to the Cartel's music, if you didn't understand Spanish, it sounds very wholesome. It's just them playing a guitar, talking about how they're going to shoot and murder your whole family.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's quite deep.
Yeah,
I've never
I would
listened.
say look into it. You would be wonderfully surprised. It's basically trap on guitars and singing like it's a romantic thing. That's the thing. Like, anything can always be used for good or evil, regardless of what it is. Like, a gun can be used to feed a whole village. A gun can be used to murder people. Poison can be used to treat certain ailments under the right circumstances, or it can be used to kill people. It just depends on the intentionality. But like I said, you are 100% valid to feel worried. I guess what we need to be more focused on is what we put into our children, because that's also part of the issue. We need to ask ourselves honest questions as to what is happening in our homes that are making these kids look outside for the validation. And like you said, there is stats to prove it in terms of, yes, the music does influence. But then when you ask why, you start to notice that a lot of parents are distracted. The mum and dad are now working long hours, barely seeing their kids. They're tired, stressed, more things pulling at your attention. So I would say there is less of a community spirit in terms of raising children. It takes a whole village to raise children, and more so than not these days, people are disconnected from community. So I feel like that's more so the issue. Yeah, the music is the issue, but it's only a symptom of what's really going on. However, again, like I said, things can be used for good and evil. And I myself, as a person, I believe in authentic expression. So, like I said, that's a sign of the times. People will authentically, in some ways, because we can get on to the next point now, but in some ways, people will speak their truth. This is what the drill people are experiencing. This is what the grime people are experiencing. Grime's not new. Grime's over 20 years old. People have been getting stabbed and shot, and there's been gangs since. For example, people watch Peaky Blinders. I don't know if you've ever heard of Peaky Blinders.
I've heard of it, yeah, but I've never actually watched it.
It's an old school gangster story. These things have been happening. It's just, I guess, more mainstream now, less covered up. More people are speaking about it openly. Codes have changed. The streets have changed. So that's also another thing. However, then you get the other side of it where people who aren't really involved then portray the lifestyle for financial gain, which, yeah.
I think one of the really interesting things that you just said, even about like the cartel and like, there's something about, I guess, maybe speaking your truth, whether it be violent or traumatic, but the fact that you're doing it on a certain type of accompanied instrument. Is there like something, because you said they're using guitars and stuff, and
it sounds very wholesome, it sounds very happy, but when you understand Spanish, it will give you the chills. And nowadays, even in drill, you're finding more music that isn't the dark, ominous sounds. But like, for example, this is not drill, this is more so like trap, and it's just like I'm just giving a case study, but in Florida, there's a huge issue with like gangs and violence and music as well, including drill. But there's a very famous song called "Who I Smoke," and it's basically a song that samples a very popular song, and yeah, it's normally like a happy song, but they've turned it around to be demonic. So that's also a different side to it. Like, yes, the dark, ominous stuff is very easily identifiable, and you can sort of like be like, oh yeah, that's the dark music that the children listen to and it's corrupting people. It's easy to say that, but when you listen to Who I Smoke, it sounds happy. When you actually pay attention, they're talking about the people they've killed. And they're dancing around in a golf course, wearing prim and proper clothing, playing golf, driving around in a golf cart, looking happy. It's just like, I feel like a lot of things are about perception, really. And when you really pay attention, you find out what's really going on a lot of the time.
So would you say that, is there a difference between songs made with a good vibe or a bad vibe as well? Like the outcome of it? And like, what does that look like, I guess? Because that's what I'm getting a lot from how you're describing what you're saying, even like intention-wise, or like, you know, so how do you even perceive, like, how do you get, what is that difference? Or how do you feel, how does it make you feel different in terms of like the ones that might be perceived as, you know, they're talking about violent stuff, so they're perceived as a bad kind of song. But how does that then impact on the way that people might feel when they listen to those types of different good or bad vibed songs?
I feel like the answer will be different for everybody. And that's based on many, many, many different variables. A lot of it tends to be who you are. And obviously who you are is a combination of, I guess, nature versus nurture. Genetics and environment come together to create reality. So some people might listen to that music, and I'll just speak for myself first and foremostly. Like, when I listen to that music, I can definitely admit it does speak to my shadow side a lot of the time. And I'm a person that has experienced some of these things myself. I've been in some of these walks of life, and I was able to sort of like gain perspective from it and be like, this isn't for me. However, a lot of the time that can come from a place of privilege. I come from a home where both of my parents are there. I've always been sort of like, I would say, relatively privileged to the average person. So it was much easier to step back than from a person such as yourself. I did do a little bit of research into your background and where you come from. I would say it would be more difficult
Also, I
to
guess
be in that
you're
and
a male though as
to
well.
step out from that.
But you're a male as well. That's, for me, that's a big difference. That's why I mentioned my son, because he's a boy as
Yeah.
well. I think there's something unique about that as well,
Yeah,
in terms of,
it's the father figure.
yeah, like males and boys.
Yeah.
It will affect, well, what I see anyway. Maybe it doesn't, but maybe it does, in terms of affect them in a different way
Yeah.
to what a female or a woman will be.
Yeah, and I've actually looked into this quite a bit, and a lot of it is due to like societal. Sorry, that sound. Yeah, a lot of it is due to like societal norms and pressures and stuff like that. And in terms of like behavioral psychology, they will tell you that the male father figure is very important as to how a man turns out. And what you are seeing with a lot of impressionable males is that they don't have present father figures. And by present, it doesn't mean I'm going to dad's once a month. I'm going to dad's once a week. I'll see my dad when I see him. And then when the dad sees him, he takes him shopping, or like, yo, you should be doing this. Like, the figures and the research actually shows that presence has to do with the day-to-day interactions of a father-son, basically. So what you have with a lot of people that are groomed into gangs are absent fathers. That's just the best way to put it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's deep.
So that's why.
It's making me think more.
Yeah. So that's why things turn out the way they do, because obviously I would say men are societalized more to express violence and aggression than women are. So that's why, for example, more males are incarcerated than females. Men tend to solve a lot of their issues or conflict through aggression. With women, it tends to be more passive aggressiveness rather than violence. However, we are starting to see those numbers change, even with women. And again, we can go further into that.
Fair enough. I guess, how do you find like the balance of being drawn to a song that has negative undertones, and vibing to it, even though there's certain little things that you might say, oh, really, is that what you just said in that lyric, kind of thing? Or like, how do you find the balance between that and listening to things that are uplifting for our souls?
I would say it's like, for me anyways, it's having a sense of self-esteem, and like, privilege allows me to detach myself from that. It's not my reality. It's almost like, not entirely, but almost like watching a movie. And oh yeah, that happened, because the honest truth is that's not my day-to-day life. But for people that it is, it will be extremely difficult to detach yourself from that because, oh, last week your friend would have been in that situation. It's more in your face. So that's also another aspect of this that people need to sort of understand and accept as well. So
But
it's
what
more
about-
so an acceptance of reality.
But what about the people that, as you say, that is their reality? Let's say that's their reality. Their friend last week got stabbed, and now they just want to listen to some drill music because it just helps, because that trauma that they've faced, even though they don't feel
It
like
helps
it's
them
trauma,
process
yeah,
it.
it helps them make sense of it. Like, yeah, man, my man got dipped, and then da 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 da, and they're listening to that on repeat, right? Is there something about they're then? Is there like a self-fulfilling prophecy happening?
100%.
Like they're then
100%. And that's why I mentioned reality. And it's about an acceptance of reality. That is the reality. And I feel like sometimes when we discuss these topics, we discuss them from a place of one, privilege. A lot of people that talk about this stuff so passionately are not around it every day. And the ones that do, that are around it every day and speak about it passionately, are the ones that it's like they see the reality, but they don't want to accept the reality because they want to change the reality. Things shouldn't be this way, but the reality is the reality, if that makes sense. The reality is the reality. So I feel like first and foremost, if people want to change a reality, they have to first accept that reality. To be like, this is what's going on. People like this stuff. This is why they like this stuff. And then you can start talking about changing the environments. Because a lot of the people in these environments, they feel, not just they feel, because feelings are always valid, they feel stuck. They are stuck in those environments. How do you pack up and leave that environment? Because that's the thing, people don't talk about this enough. To remove yourself from an environment like that, you sacrifice your social connections. People like to feel comfortable. Whether it's toxicity or it's thriving, people like to feel comfortable. How do you leave your grandma? How do you leave your mum? How do you leave all the friends you've known since nursery school to seek a different experience? Even though idealistically, that's what you should do. It's not just that easy, is it? when you actually talk about it realistically.
I guess so.
It's
But
not
I'm just trying to like really understand, like the link, I guess, of the music and the community and like
I
it's
said,
easy. It's easy to.
the music is only the symptom. That's why I mentioned that earlier. The music is just the symptom. That's it. The music is just the symptom. The root cause of the issue are economic factors, are demographic factors, are, I would say, family trauma dynamics. That's the root.
Okay.
So if you want to change all that stuff, that's what we have to focus on. Not, oh, the music, the drill. You will run round in circles. If it's not the music, it will be something else. Because aren't we seeing a rise in more shows, violent shows, made about these things, showing the life?
But that's what I'm
the
trying to
medium will
understand.
change.
That's what I'm trying to understand,
Yeah.
because there's the Top Boys and the
That's
and
my
the,
point.
and the Blue
Snowfalls,
Stories,
the Blue Stories.
yeah, all of these stuff that even within the community, and I don't know about for yourself, there's even like there's a positive and a negative connotation to it.
Exactly.
People are proud, like, oh yeah, they're talking about the ends.
Yeah, but then
this is what
on one
happened.
end, people that are that way inclined will feel inspired to become their own top boy. Do you get it? And that's my point. The medium will always change. The medium will always change. And I feel like a lot of people we don't want, as humans, we don't really want to look at reality.
So you think that it's about addressing the reality first?
It's about addressing the reality, and it's about addressing the root cause, not just looking for sort of like meat shields or like targets to project things onto. It's about tackling the root issue. The root issue is the family dynamics, the economic factors, socioeconomic factors, and yeah, that's where we'll actually find real solutions. Like things like having community and accountability, things like that. That's what will actually make a change. Not so much, ban drill, stop making drill music, make more positive music. How do you make more positive music when you're hungry? That's the thing. And this is a psychological fact. For human beings to thrive, you need to take your mind out of survival mode. You can't thrive mentally when the mind and the nervous system are in survival. It's impossible.
So if you could make it happen in terms of a holistic kind of approach to music, what would that look like for the younger generation? Because I know you said that, drill music, grime music, all of that, it speaks to the younger generation more than, I guess, I don't know, as you mentioned before, Taylor Swift or and not all young people, but, the people that we're talking about, our community, I guess, that are, especially, for
But what
me
you're
anyway.
also seeing from, because this is also another thing, like my experience growing up is, as I mentioned earlier, I'm involved in many different genres, there is a shame element there was a bigger shame element with sort of like listening to other genres like indie, like rock, like pop, or even electronic music. That is more so what we're also seeing as well these days, is that our community, we're getting more sort of adventurous. Like there are people that listen to, and there are whole communities within the community that aren't just into urban music now as well. So that's also another thing we're seeing. So yeah, the drill is a problem, but there are also other avenues. So I guess what I would do is more so carry on encouraging initiatives that are more so focused on allowing us to gain perspective, allowing the kids to gain perspective, to see different things other than what's around them.
Yeah, because I've heard that, drill and grime generally, and I know people that are artists that are drill and grime artists, and as you've said, it's like just them speaking about their experiences, I guess.
Yeah, so
which
show
I
them
understand.
different
I do
things.
get that. I do
Like
get
a
that.
lot of these kids are inner city kids who have never seen a beach. They've never been on holiday. They've never seen how another culture lives. So I feel like when people gain perspectives, their choices open up. So that would definitely influence the music they make.
Okay, so do you feel essentially that, I guess, giving them new experience, your approach would be to give people new experiences or different experiences, and that way the music could change?
Yeah.
You think that's the way? That's the way.
That would be the way, because, or one of the ways anyways, because some of these things can't be helped. Like, for example, family dynamics. You can't bring a mother and father back together. You can't make them co-parent in a healthy way, for example. But that's also another thing. Like, a lot of these issues stem from bad mental health as well. And I would say ignorance a lot of the time.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask you as well, I guess. You said that music was just after you finished secondary school. So prior to that, what was some of your interest in terms of subjects or stuff like that?
In terms of, I have, the only subject I would say at that time I wasn't really interested in was maths. And that's because I was bad at it.
You probably wasn't.
No,
But you just.
I'm terrible at maths. Like, it's shockingly bad.
Okay, so what other subjects then you'd say? Did you do A levels or anything?
Yeah, I did A levels. But from GCSEs, I was interested in history. I was interested in biology, chemistry, physics, French, languages. English.
Science, all of those science topics, and you're not good at maths.
That's the thing. I got a B in my GCSE physics.
What?
No, sorry, I got an A in my GCSE physics.
That's physics is like, isn't that
I
like
know,
maths?
I know, it makes no sense. It makes no. But at GCSE level, it was mostly theoretical. So it was like more so the theory. You would explain the theories and then do a little bit of maths. But then when you got to A levels, it was the other way around. So I did take that.
Did you do A levels as well?
I tried to do A level physics and failed horribly.
Okay.
Because it was mostly maths.
But so what did you then move on to in your A level stage?
I ended up finishing with geography, biology, psychology, and music technology.
Wow. Wow. Just the two first ones you've said is like, wow. Like sciences, I know.
I wouldn't really say, yeah, there is science in geography, but geography is more so, and a lot of people don't know this about geography, it's more so sociology.
But just
It's like
the
a people
topics,
science.
yeah, the topics that you just said there is very, I don't know what the word is. Thinky.
You could you could say intellectual. I don't know.
Intellectual.
Academic.
Yeah.
Or
Academic. That's
Yeah,
that's what I was looking for.
That would be the like I would say a biased perspective because
it's the
history
science ones.
is equally, and law as well is equally, they're equally academic subjects.
Fair
for
enough,
example.
but when I think of A levels, and even when I was at that stage, anyone that was doing maths or any of the sciences, it was like they were like,
Yeah, they're looked at as being very intelligent,
Yeah.
but then there's different types of intelligence.
of course, no doubt in that. But I'm just saying, like, just from what you've said there, it's quite interesting that you did biology and geography, you know, and
Biology more so because I'm interested in the natural world, animals, ecology, and then obviously geography falls into that, and then psychology because I'm interested in how people think.
I
how
can
the mind
sense that. I
works.
can sense that. Just the way that you express and your perspectives and the way you're explaining
Philosophical,
things,
yeah.
it's making me take a step back and even breathe a little bit before I answer or ask you anything. So I can see that coming through strong.
Sorry.
Which is not a bad thing, you know. But I guess why did that transition happen of like you was doing those subjects? I know you said Channel U was part of the like.
I did also
inspiration.
mention music technology.
Yeah. Wait. I did hear that, but I'm just saying like majority of the topics that you did was, you know, for me anyway, on that side of the spectrum, compared to music being more creative.
I did most of those subjects, like in hindsight, to please my parents. I would say music technology is what I really wanted to do at that time. I just wanted to do music.
Fair enough.
At that time. Like, obviously, I like to learn and I study in my own time. I've always been like that. Like, nobody needs to go tell me, oh, go study. Like, I would just study. Even before I started school, I could read. So,
Fair enough.
yeah.
So I guess that makes more sense now that you say that. So I guess music was always kind of what you felt you wanted to do in a way. And as you said in the beginning too. So some young people are affected by, as you said before as well, like following a certain wave or a trend. And would you say you've ever been affected or peer pressured into thinking or connecting to a certain...
Isn't that just part of life? Isn't that just part of like who hasn't been peer pressured? Like, we use the word socialized. Culture in itself is a giant peer pressuring construct, isn't it? Oh, this is the way a man should be. This is the way a woman should be. That's peer pressure, automatically. Oh, traditionally, this is what we've always done. So then you feel obliged to by societal constructs.
I think that
It's peer pressure.
that one is a bit, no, that one I'm not sure. That one I'm not sure about because the reason why I say that is because, okay, I get the biases in terms of, you know, looking at something like, oh, that is what a man's meant to do or a woman's meant to do and saying it in that way. But then I think there's something very important about naturally, like a woman or a man, for
Naturally.
instance. Naturally, I feel like naturally, you know, there's
Okay.
certain things that personally I feel that connects more with one or the other.
Fair.
Personally.
So if you were just, and these experiments have been done, by the way, and there are stats to prove it. Like, I'm not just a person that I just speak, but if you were a child and you were just no parents or whatever, you were born from like the age of 4, you were put on an island, who would you turn out to be without any outside influences?
Naturally, I think you'd gravitate to being more feminine. Naturally.
How?
Because for me, the natural world, generally, standardly, energy wise, is quite feminine. So if you're left alone and you're in the natural world, naturally you'll connect more with your feminine. There's nothing wrong with being feminine or masculine, by the way.
What does that mean?
What do you mean?
What I mean is basically, you initially said, have I ever felt peer pressured? And my response to that was, of course, I felt peer pressured. I'm a human living in society. A lot of our societal constructs are built on peer pressure, including culture. And then I went on to say, for example, traditionally, a man is this, a woman is that. Where do we learn these things from? Isn't it our caregivers or our like family that sort of like instill these values in us over time?
To an extent. But that's what I'm saying. Naturally, certain things. Like, if you want to say
But how do we know
scientifically,
that?
do you know what? Since you're saying,
I
like,
know that.
that's your scientifically as
Yeah.
well. You know, like just the
So you're looking at
balances
yeah.
of hormones, for instance. Let's look at it from that side of things.
Yeah, okay.
That's my kind of outlook on it. The hormone element, like
Mm-hmm.
that's not something we necessarily. It is. We do have some sort of control over it through what we eat, what we
Mm-hmm.
did, what we're, you know, in contact with, can affect our hormone levels. More testosterone, more
Behaviors.
estrogen. You know, it's depending on that stuff. So my thing is that's why I say naturally. You know, so a woman can be more in a testosterone energy or hormone, and she'll be more masculine, right? That's what I'm saying.
Like hyenas, for example.
I wouldn't know that. Maybe hyenas. I don't know that. I don't know that about hyenas. But
You know,
I'm just
male
saying.
seahorses are the ones that like take care of the children and carry the children.
So that's what I'm saying. It's for me. It's like, I guess.
So what
maybe
is naturally?
So that's what I'm saying. Naturally, in terms of your hormone, whatever's going on inside of you. So as I was just explaining, I might be a female, right? But inside of me, my hormones is mainly testosterone. So then when I'm outside and I'm functioning and how I'm perceived is masculine, because the hormone inside of me mainly is testosterone. So I guess that's what I mean by then naturally I would be, you know, operating in my masculine, even though I'm a female. Do you know what I mean? That's what I mean by that. So naturally, that's what I meant by that. Not that, oh, you're a guy, so you have to be testosterone heavy.
Saying. That's not even what I was saying. Like my idea was more like a thought experiment, more to like get ourselves and the viewers to sort of like take several steps, because a lot of the time we're not aware of this, but we perceive things through social biases that are a lot of them are very subconscious. So that's why I said you had no influences, no one raised you or anything. You were just put out in the wild by yourself. I didn't say in a pack of other humans or because that's why I then asked the question, what is human nature? Do we really know that for sure?
Good question. I think the only reason why I said that the person would turn out more feminine, personally, energy-wise, is that for me, when I look at the natural world, just the functionings of how, I don't know, plants grow and just looking at it in that way, surface level, is more of a feminine energy, for me anyway. There's nothing wrong with...
What about when animals kill other animals to survive and protect themselves.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not saying
Wouldn't
all
that be
things.
like a masculine energy?
Yeah, there's obviously both.
Just how we humans look at it.
100%. That's what I'm saying. Like there is always both, but just not as a whole, and like I guess the way that certain practices, I guess, that I even know of in terms of grounding and stuff like that, and they talk, and even how, as you say, society would say Mother Earth and stuff, like it's just naturally connotated to a feminine kind of thing. You know, that's the only reason why I said that.
Yeah, I guess my perspective of that is like there are these feral kids, kids that like grow up in the wild. They were abandoned and like animals raised them and blah 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 blah. They don't have concepts of masculine or feminine.
That's true.
They just are.
Yeah. They've just
They just are.
survived.
They I guess when they need to look after themselves or whatever, that would be them catering to their feminine. When they need to defend themselves and provide for themselves, that would be them catering to their masculine. However, but then you can flip it on the other side. When you look at lions, who does all the hunting?
Lions.
Yeah, when you look at lions, a pack of lions, who does all the hunting?
Doesn't the female?
There you go.
Yeah.
They're the providers.
Yeah, but there's tribes like that too. There's tribes where women are the providers too.
Yeah, so that's my point. What is masculine and what's feminine?
Yeah,
I feel like we ascribe value to a lot of things
Yeah.
using the human ego, and yeah,
I hear
it is
that.
what
No,
it is.
I do hear that. It's just, you know, there's loads of, you know, when I'm speaking, by the way, I'm not necessarily speaking for my personal what I truly believe, but I'm trying to like understand what you're saying and also
I'm a devil's advocate.
Well, this is we're two devil's advocate talking.
I'm a devil's advocate a lot of the time. It's like I'm very into like seeing different perspectives and I guess uncovering my own biases and perspectives and all that stuff.
So I guess your answer to the peer pressure question would be, you've not been because we've all been.
No, I have been.
Oh, you have been.
100%.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I've wanted.
Is there any story?
Yeah, I've wanted to have the nice clothes. I've wanted to have the girls. Just like a lot of people, and if it wasn't the clothes, if it wasn't the girls, I wanted to be the best of football. I wanted to be a competition. You know what I mean? I wanting to be the winner. Like somebody else's achievement can sometimes affect how you feel about yourself. And then self-esteem comes. And that's why, like I mentioned self-esteem earlier. Like self-esteem is such a big thing. And like understanding self-worth, it all comes into play in all of these things. So yes, I have. Do I still feel it? Of course. Of course. Like, and that's why I say, like, I'm very big on the word societal and societal pressures and things like that, because we all have to be aware that a lot of the time we do things by others' yardsticks. Like other people project onto us and we project onto other people. So like, oh my God, like my friend's just got a 4-bedroom house. Then you in your 2-bedroom house, you're like, I want better for myself. And sometimes that might not come from the fact that you've noticed you're expanding within yourself and you need more space, for example, or you might need more space. It's that, oh, this person's done this and I want to be like that. Oh, this person's got 1 million streams. I want to get 1 million streams. Yeah, like the ego feels these things.
So it's an ego thing then.
Yeah, we all have ego. You can't be a human being and survive on this planet without ego.
Okay.
It's more so learning how to make that ego work for you and getting the balance right. Yeah.
So I guess, would you say that's what feeds the music, you know, of a negative kind of
It can, yeah.
what people
Like
say,
human beings are not a monolith. Like people don't just do things a lot of the time for one thing. And this is what a lot of people fail to understand. I feel like we try to see things in a binary. when things are more on a spectrum, a color wheel, a collage of things. Like, sometimes I might be doing music because 1, I want the validation. 2, I want the money. 3, I want to express. There could be so many different reasons as to why I'm doing that thing. And it might come in different ratios. It might be 60% of it is ego, 30% of it is expression, 10 of it is money. It could be 80% of it is money. That's the point with that.
Fair enough. Yeah. Wow. Well, this conversation, I just feel like I'm in a deep zone. Like
that's the thing about me.
I just feel like
we're gonna dive deep. We're always gonna dive deep.
And take moments to take in the stuff that you're saying.
I'm not. How do I put it? I guess like being autistic. That's also something I've learned recently. That I've always been an autistic male. I don't like small talk. It doesn't really serve me. If I'm going to discuss something, I have to get to the root of it, because like my understanding anyways, or the way I perceive things, is that you can't really understand anything without going deep. Like surface level expression and surface level knowledge will only give you surface level results, really. And that's not what I'm after.
For you, how did R&B go from like Boys to Men, Jodeci, Joe, Brian, all these names talking about love, family, togetherness, to where we are today in terms of now, I guess, more sexually explicit?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same answer to the drill question earlier. It's the sign of the times. More and more people are getting divorced. There's less community. There's less togetherness. So...
Sorry, 1 second. What is sign of the times? What does that mean?
We're living in a time where people value instant gratification more than stability.
Okay, so that's what sign of the time means.
Yeah, it's a sign of the times. It's what's going on now. It's the reality. That's what sign of the time means. It's the reality. How many people do you know are like seriously into the idea of love? I'm not saying, because we all want love deep down, but then are our actions aligning with that? And then what you always hear is no one's serious. Everyone just wants sex. Everyone just wants a quick thing. So again, it's a sign of like, will your music sell if you're like singing about love and nobody wants to hear that shit?
Maybe. I don't really see much people doing that are mainstream.
Yeah, because it doesn't sell. It doesn't sell as much. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, this is also another thing. Like, music's a business. Music is a business. Like, people, like, a lot of people want to believe that people just do it for the passion. Oh, do it for the passion. It's a business. We live in a capitalist system. Like, things always link into each other. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen The Wire, but one of the things that they said in that show that's really struck with me, and it's very true, you can apply it to any facet of life. If you want to know what's really going on, follow the money. If you want to know why people are fighting wars, follow the money. If you want to know why music's the way it is, follow the money. If you want to know why they're gentrifying Brixton, follow the money. Do you know what I mean? Follow the money. So that's the thing. It's like, we live in a time of instant gratification, all these dating apps that aren't really built for sustainability. They're built for quick dopamine hits, really and truly. So if you make that music that will stand the test of time, people want quick results. They want the things that are going to blow up on TikTok. They want the reactionary music. One of the easiest way is to talk about sex. At the end of the day, this is also another thing. We human beings always try to, yes, we can think, we have higher functions, but essentially we're primal creatures, we're carnal creatures. we all got here through sex. So, so at the end of the day, they figured that out. And oh my God,
Who's they?
they is both the consumers and the stakeholders.
Okay.
That's the they, and obviously the people making the music. Because at the end of the day, like, if there was no demand, there would be no supply. That is also another law of business. Music's a business. If there was no demand, there would be no supply. So that's also why I always say people need to accept reality rather than focusing on idealism. Oh, yeah, we should make more holistic music. We should. But who's buying that shit?
I don't know. When you put it like that, I'm just trying to like
Yeah, who is?
understand.
Yeah.
So
I'm not saying nobody does or nobody should or nobody will, but it's
what you personally, what do you listen to?
I listen to everything.
Okay. So why though? Why do you personally choose to listen to everything?
Variety is the spice of life. I believe that if I keep myself open to all the different walks of life, I will have a broader perspective on life rather than closing my eye or my experience off to the other realities that exist.
Okay. And do you feel that that impacts you now being able to balance out, I guess, what is perceived as negative or what is perceived as positive?
Yeah, I feel like it helps me be less biased. In all honesty, it helps me being less biased, and it helps me be more grounded in actual reality rather than fantasy or idealism. Because growing up, I used to be one of those people, what is this auto-tune shit? What is this sing rap shit? What is this grime shit? Like real hip-hop only. I used to be one of those people.
But what changed?
What changed was realizing that there are other perspectives out there. There are other realities other than the ones I want to create and the ones I'm comfortable with.
Okay.
And that is reality in itself. Like, not everybody thinks the same. Not everybody wants the same things. Like, we might want more holistic music. We might want more positive life. We might want peace. Some people want war. And if you keep saying, oh, but why do you want war? Oh, you shouldn't want war. You're running away from the reality. That's how I see it.
So you think we need that balance?
Yeah, because the universe in itself is both chaos and order at the same time.
Okay.
There's
How did you come to that conclusion?
by studying nature. By studying nature in itself, nature will show you reality.
So
Animals aren't just kind, are they?
okay. So what do you mean you studied nature? Like what is that study of nature that made you see that?
The study of nature is observing my natural environment from a place of curiosity, unbridled curiosity. I grew up watching a lot of nature documentaries. I grew up visiting nature a lot as well. So I've been able to see both mercy, animals showing mercy, animals showing deceit, animals showing honesty, animals showing integrity, animals showing betrayal, animals showing loyalty. Like, everything exists in nature already. Like, a lot of the problems that we have as humans and running around, they exist in nature already. There's creation and there's destruction. It's the natural order of things.
Okay.
And things always change.
Is that why they say there's nothing new under the sun?
It's part of that, yeah.
Okay.
It's part of that. It's part of the reasons why, yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm gonna start going towards the end. So you've touched on this before about, draw and like, it being a way where it's positive, it's letting these artists, and I know Kretz as well. Kretz kind of did that when he said about, music saved his life kind of thing. So, banning drill, for instance, how's that gonna, affect other black young people? I guess, what's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that is that it's a very complicated issue, for one. I don't believe most things should be banned, in all honesty, because there's a big point. Drill has enabled people to change their lives. Drill has enabled people to move away from the streets. But there are many more complex socio-economic things we can talk about, even with this topic. Some of them, I just won't mention on camera because then that's a whole different thing. Like, we've already gone quite deep today, but people should be given a chance to use whatever they can, especially within the means of the law, to change their life circumstances. That's how I see it. So, like I said, drill can be positive, it can be negative. People are just expressing their experiences. And if we don't like them expressing their experiences, like I said, why don't we focus as to why those experiences even exist to begin with? Like, a lot of people will say we make, like, in the UK and in many developed countries, there shouldn't be homelessness. There's enough money that nobody should be homeless. No child should be hungry. We say that, right? But isn't that still the reality? And then the hunger, the homelessness, the situations people are in will then lead to crime. And then we act surprised when not enough is being done to prevent these situations from occurring anyways. So that is the reality. So if you ban drill, you're more so giving people less choices as to how to change their circumstances to gain empowerment, I guess. You could say, go to the library and read, but then how do I go to the library and read when people are threatening to stab me on the way to the library? Okay, I still deal with that, but then maybe I might carry a knife to protect myself because no one's going to protect me. Because the honest truth is society doesn't value my life as much as somebody who lives in suburban Britain. Doesn't. If I call the police from here today, they're taking 40 minutes to show up. If I call them from Hertfordshire where I live, they're taking 2 to 5 minutes. That's the reality. So people need to feel powerful at the end of the day. People want to feel like they're in control of their lives. So that's why a lot of these sort of like situations happen.
Wow. So you said something to my producers that was quite deep. You said that, the youth, they don't want holistic music, but it's what they need. And I guess, does that go for recording companies as well? What do you think? Is it something they want as well, or
Recording companies don't care about that.
And I guess, are they also to blame with the direction of how, youth music is going?
Yeah, everybody has their accountability and their responsibility to take in this. But at the end of the day, where we stand right now, a lot of these, I would say, record companies, they carry a lot of that responsibility. But then you can also say, on the other hand, the government allows them to get away with things like this. Because a big example of this is how it was literally in court that, I don't know if you've heard of Takeshi 6ix9ine and the whole RICO case that went on with that in America. They literally gave him money to pay the gangs to appear in his music video shoots. But somehow he got a joint enterprise case, a RICO, and all the gang members got sent to prison, but not the people funding it.
So essentially, it's not just the music companies, the government. Is that what you're saying?
The government as well, but at the end of the day, like if you understand systems, we live in a capitalist system where money is king. Money is the law, really and truthfully, and that's what a lot of people chase. If it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense, right? We've heard that saying before. If it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. Now, if you think about companies that operate like this and what that then allows them to do, there is no more moral obligation. I feel like this is also another issue, is that a lot of us human beings feel like socialists. We feel like, oh, we should be taking care of each other. We have moral obligations. But the systems around us don't want us to do that. They don't want us to be kind. It wants us to value results, right? Over everything else. So that's the issue, is these record companies, like I said earlier, if there's no demand, there will be no supply. So if the people aren't asking for the holistic music, they're not going to want to give it to them. If it's not selling, they're not going to want to give it to them.
Okay.
So they're then incentivized to make what works. In the short term, what's getting those results, what's making that money in the short term, which is the dark, I would say, not rage, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of like uproar inducing stuff. The quick dopamine hits, instant gratification music.
I guess the final questions I have for you is that, being an unsigned artist as well, does that, and a good deal comes along, is there kind of a different vibe to just being you than following the wave? Or does that make a difference, being unsigned and
Yeah, how do I put
opportunities
it?
coming?
Being unsigned, like you have your own, like you can make your own rules. It's like being the freelancer but versus being employed for a company, right? Like a lot of us have experienced freelance work where I can wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm not doing that. I can wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm not doing that. I'm currently a freelancer as like a studio engineer. I pick my clients.
Fair
As
enough.
well. I pick my clients. So yeah, that like being an unsigned artist gives you that freedom. However, when you take money, you take support from a bigger organization, you then start feeling the pressures because they want you to deliver. It's a loan, essentially. And a lot of the time loans come with criteria. They come with obligations that you have to follow.
I guess I'd love to finish this off with there is artists making, good music and, making it
Yeah.
big. The Daves, the Cleo Soul, there is artists out there that are making it big and making positive music. And yeah, I guess what can we look forward to with Orchestra?
Yeah, many things, to be fair. For me, I'm just experiencing, I'm growing. I'm finally working, like my music journey has come full circle. That's the best way to put it. So I produce less these days. I'm also working on my own artistry, which is what I mentioned earlier. I started with anyways. I'm working on an EP. I'm also like trying to perform more, which is something I haven't really done before. Sort of like get myself physically out into the world. A lot of the stuff I've done is more so digital prior to that. So yeah, I've got a single coming out next month.
What's that called?
It's called Pullover.
Pull Over. Cool.
Yeah.
Where can we find it as well?
It's coming out next month. You'll be able to find it on all streaming platforms.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep.
I'll put it in before you end. That was good. Then after that, that's the question. No worries.
It seems.
How he. That's it. What is your best way to relax, chill?
Okay, cool. I was thinking that as well. Cause I was trying to go towards the positive end. That's what I was.
The deepness threw you off.
Because every time I'm trying to steer it this way, you're pulling it back that way. But yeah. All right, cool. All right, yeah. So what is the best way that you relax, chill, and, detox away from all the hustle and bustle of the city life? I know you said you don't live in London anymore as well. So.
No, I don't. So this is a funny question because, like, I've always struggled to chill. I've always struggled to relax because I'm a serial worker. I'm an overworker, an overthinker. So even when I'm not doing anything, I'm always doing something mentally. So I've recently learned to be more intentional with, I guess, my mindfulness. And yeah, that involves meditation. It involves being just doing things and paying more attention to myself whilst I do these things. Because typically, I guess, I was more so in autopilot, where I would just be going through the motions. I'm going to the gym, I'm just doing the reps, get big, get strong, get big, get strong, rather than, how do my arms feel today? How do my legs feel today? So that's how I'm more so being intentional with my mindfulness. Also being more intentional with just exercise in general. I play football twice a week for a football team as well. And just actually scheduling time to decompress. That's been very important. So taking time off just to rest, just to lie down and do nothing and like not think at all.
Fair enough. Just because I know loads of people, when they hear meditate, they think about closing your eyes and staying in one spot and not moving, and maybe saying, like, what is meditation to you, and like, how do you kind of do it?
To me, meditation, it involves different steps. So I guess what I learned, meditation could be sort of like sitting still. It could also, well, according to a lot of people, it's just more so realizing that I am not my thoughts. That my thoughts and who I am are a separate thing. Because a lot of the time we start attaching our thoughts to our ego. And it's just more so realizing that we are a different entity from what generates our thoughts, basically. So that to me is meditation. And then it's like that moment of curiosity that arises from that, of being an observer of your own mind, basically, rather than being in the midst of it, being sloshed around. That would be like a state of meditation for me.
Fair enough. So there is like loads of good artists out there producing good music, positive messages, like Dave's, Cleo Soul, and a lot of not so much mainstream, but there is a vibe going on out there that I also do personally tune into. And
it's quite interesting that you mentioned Dave and Cleo Soul, and like, I guess during our conversation, you were also trying to, I guess, more so focus on the positive. But we've been talking about the word holistic. Holistic actually doesn't mean just positive. It means all around, right? And if you listen to an artist like Dave, he talks about the negatives as well as the positives. He's just recently released a song with Central C, talking about partying and getting girls. So I guess, Cleo Soul, she talks about raunchy sex in a lot of her songs. It's not just, love, 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 love. So it's more so balanced. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything coming up for you in the next few months?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, my music journey has come full circle. First thing I ever did was release a song before I went into years of producing, sound engineering, even artist management as well as songwriting. But I've also decided to focus on myself as an artist and actually make that happen a lot more. So I'm working on an EP. I'm working on actually several EPs to express, I guess, the different sides of me. And I've got a single coming out next month. It's called Pullover, basically.
Where can we find Pullover? Where can
You'll be able to find it on all streaming platforms, basically.
and where can we find you as well?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. The funny thing about like my Twitter or my Instagram stories is if you watch it or like if you look at my feed, like you get to see, I guess, different sides of me. This conversation has been like more so serious and philosophical, but I'm not really like that on my Twitter as much. But yeah, you can find me on Orchestra Artist on Twitter and on Instagram. Yeah, and on TikTok as well. Yeah, I'm also on TikTok.
So thank you so much for speaking to me today, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Chris. Yeah.
I'm so fortunate to be able to be facilitating this podcast here. If you are able to donate to Paper Garden, that would be truly appreciated to help them give back more to the community.